Well, the last 30 days has been very interesting. We've got President Trump finally doing what Democrats and Republicans have been bragging they would do for decades, which is lower the price of drugs in America. We've got information coming out about COVID, about the vaccines, getting them out of American arms, and so much more. To help me go through all this, I have Dr. Joel Kahn. Dr. Kahn, thank you so much for joining me.
Well, I am pleased to be here. We got a lot to talk about.
Oh, yeah. Well, I appreciate you coming on again. Our last show was well received, and I know your time is valuable. I want to jump into a clip together. This is Charlie Kirk and Dr. Marty Makary. He's the new FDA commissioner in the Trump administration. He works closely with RFK Jr. Let me pull up this clip, and then I want to ask you some questions about it.
Dr. Makary, what a change it is versus what happened under Joe Biden. So a question, doctor, that I'm getting from a lot of people, and I know that you're getting it as well, and feel free to answer it however you feel appropriate, is whether the COVID shot will remain on the child vaccination schedule. And I know that this is hotly debated. We believe on this program it should not be on the child vaccination schedule. Are you guys thinking about this? Your thoughts, Commissioner?
Look, I'd love to see the evidence to show that giving young, healthy children another COVID shot, a sixth COVID booster would help them. But that evidence does not exist. And so we're not just going to rubber stamp things at the FDA. And I don't think you're going to see a push at the CDC to be pushing COVID shots in young, healthy children. That is something that's being discussed right now. I think you're going to see some announcement on that in the coming weeks. But I know they are trying to review all of the scientific data. And guess what? There's no data. There's no good randomized controlled data that the current version, the latest formulation of the COVID shot, is necessary for young, healthy children. Other countries have already recommended against it. Other leading countries in Europe have recommended against it for young, healthy children. So I think you're going to see a look at this, and you're going to hear something forthcoming.
Well, I'm thrilled to hear that. And as you know, the significance also is once you are on the childhood vaccination schedule, with it becomes other immunity protections. So there's other kind of very sinister elements associated, the liability protections.
Okay, so other countries are recommending do not get this. Now we have new blood, new minds at the FDA, the CDC, HHS. They're saying we can't find any good data for this. Your thoughts on this, especially with myocarditis in the heart becoming such an issue. Your thoughts, Dr. Kahn?
Yeah, and I thank the Lord above every day for this fresh blood. I've had the pleasure to work with Dr. Makary on several TV shows in the past. He always was impressive, and he's coming out punching with, science data, not emotion. There has been no data that, infants, children, and I'll add pregnant mothers can safely receive the mRNA COVID injection. It was pushed, it was shoved, it violated every science and ethical precept about, first do no harm. We were injecting children to protect their grandparents. Well, we've never sacrificed children for the elderly. It's usually the elderly are protecting the children, but here we had everything flipped upside down. So since Dr. Makary made those comments on the Charlie Kirk show, it's been reported in the Wall Street Journal that there will be removal of mandatory COVID vaccination from childhood and pregnant mother schedules. We'll wait to hear that officially from HHS, but be a huge advance. And there is that dark side Charlie talked about, that if you get your vaccine on a childhood schedule, you already have quite heavy protection from legal issues, even if you harm people, but you get further protection. So it'll put some of the pharmaceutical industries back in the game of having to, explain their actions, explain their research, explain outcomes. A lot of parents are just ticked off at pharmaceutical industries, and they've had little recourse other than the official governmental vaccine court.
Yeah, which, my father-in-law did a documentary on that, and it is like worse than pulling teeth to try to get any kind of money, compensation, admission of guilt. So it's a broken system. And honestly, like, I'm not against big pharma. I believe that I'm alive because of some of these modern miracle medicines that have been created. But when you have the protection of immunity, it kind of can make you lazy or not have to go through some of the same hoops. I want to go over one more thing. This came out from RFK Jr. He testified before Congress just the other day about the vaccine schedule. And let me just go ahead and roll that clip for you.
Well, the vaccine recommendations, Senator, are normally made through ACIP, which is the Advisory Committee of Immunization Practices, which is an outside consulting committee at the CDC. There's another committee called VRBPAC, which is within FDA, that actually recommends whether vaccines get licensed or not. And so that's where the recommendations come from. And you know what? Traditionally, they have not done evidence-based medicine. They only adopted evidence-based medicine about 12 years ago. And what we've said during our administration is we want to have safety studies prior to the licensure and recommendation of vaccines. Vaccines are the only medical product that is exempt from pre-licensing safety testing. So the only vaccine that has been tested in a full-blown placebo trial against an inner placebo was the COVID vaccine. The other 76 shots that children in this country receive between birth and 18 years old, none of them have been safety tested in pre-licensing studies against a placebo, which means we don't understand the risk profile for those products. And that's something that I intend to remedy.
Okay, so this last 6 to 12 months has been really eye-opening for me. I didn't realize that none of the vaccines that we're familiar with underwent the same rigorous safety testing, placebo testing, double-blind randomized testing, and now it's coming out because of the liability shield that the pharmaceutical companies have basically been skipping major steps that other heart medications, other cancer treatments, whatever it is, they underwent all of that. What are your thoughts on RFK Jr., Dr. Makary, Dr. Bhattacharya now saying, listen, we believe in science, we believe in modern medicine, but we've got to put out safe products or we're actually harming our citizens. Your thoughts?
Yeah, well, I think there's so much that the public hasn't been aware of till recently. I'm an adult cardiologist, but you can read. I just literally finished Bobby Kennedy's book called Vax versus Unvax. It's absolutely eye-opening. I recommend it to anybody, but that's one of 10 books I've read in the last 6 months on the topic. I have grandchildren. I care, and let alone patients that ask me for advice. The typical example would be a new vaccine is tested against the previous version. The previous version may have had all kinds of side effects, but that's the quote unquote placebo arm. That doesn't happen anywhere else in medicine. We're waiting for a whole new generation of heart drug, blood pressure and cholesterol medication. They have to spend years and years versus a true placebo group, and then report outcomes to the FDA. And it costs a lot of money. The vaccine manufacturers for decades have gotten a pass. Some of the childhood vaccines only had 5 days of follow-up, and then the study ended. You'd have no ability to know what happened at 30, 60, 90, 180 days. And even the trial that Robert Kennedy Jr. just talked about, the placebo-controlled COVID vaccine trials, when they ended, and after only a couple of months, there was no placebo group that was followed for 12, 18, 24 months to look for long-term problems, which we're seeing now all the time. There are long-term problems. All the placebo arm got inoculated, got vaccinated. So if they had any further problem, it was impossible to tell what it was due to. So very, very unusual circumstances. Sometimes the perfect placebo is saline, but very often they actually put aluminum in the placebo, which can cause its own side effects. So there won't be that much difference between the placebo and the new investigational drug because there's side effects from the placebo. The difference, the delta, will be very small. If it were a pure saline placebo, it presumably would be a very tiny, side effect regimen. So It's all messed up, and we've got the cleanup crew. Now, I just want to follow up. You mentioned myocarditis.
Yeah.
You know, I'm a cardiologist. That's a cardiology disease. You don't have to be an ID professor to know myocarditis. And over 35 years of my practice and training, we saw myocarditis now and then. The increase in 15, 16, 18-year-old predominantly men, boys, was so tragic and kept them out of sports and school. And some had permanent injury and some died. And that's this age group that we're just sort of hoping will get the mandatory COVID vaccination off the schedule, as the Wall Street Journal reported.
Okay, interesting. I didn't realize that the placebo also had aluminum in the saline. That doesn't seem good. But then also, so you've seen just in your own medical practice and with your students an uptick in the myocarditis affecting the heart.
Yeah, that was more in 21, 22. What I'm seeing more now is 18 to 30-year-olds, extreme fatigue, racing heartbeats, dizziness on standing. They've gone to a psychiatrist. They've gone to the primary care team. They've been kicked out of emergency rooms. And when you take the proper history and do the proper blood work, you can confirm that they've got ongoing immune hyperactivity to the spike protein. And it's challenging, but they're out there. There's a lot of them.
Okay, interesting. Well, I want to talk about that a little bit more because I went through that myself, getting Delta COVID back to back. Suddenly I was having, my blood pressure was dropping. I was having panic attacks, racing heart. I'd be trying to go to bed. I'd have 115 beats per minute. I mean, that's what my heart's at when I'm walking fast or jogging. How am I supposed to fall asleep with that? But President Trump does this historic executive order to lower the cost of drugs. This is something that Democrats have said for 20 years. Multiple presidents have run on the fact that we'll make your insurance better. We'll make your drug prices less costly to you. Now they're fighting him on it because it wasn't their idea. And they're going, oh crap, what are we going to talk about when we try to run for election if we don't have that anymore? What are your thoughts on this new executive order?
Yeah, it's very, very exciting for the American public. And again, Dr. Makary has been a real leader in this area. There's a wonderful book of a few years ago called The Price We Pay. And this guy was a world famous Johns Hopkins surgeon for pancreatic cancer, but he had a finance interest and he would go and defend families being destroyed by medical bills in courts around the country as an expert to get clarity and exposure and transparency in hospital and surgical and anesthesia pricing. So hats off to him. But now we finally have this, moving forward to at least drug costs for now. This disparity, as President Trump said, his friend on the fat shot that could buy the fat shot for like $100 in England and $1,100 in the United States. So if we can just, I don't want necessarily people in Europe to pay more. It looks like they might. Let's offset and let's make America first again when it comes to drug costs coming down to something more rational. It's truly name brand drugs, truly, truly insane.
Yeah, the same Dr. Makary that you are friends with, he mentioned in an interview last week, he said, one of the hardest parts about being a doctor is I've seen families financially ruined because of the cost of some of this stuff. It's not even the cost of him as the doctor. It's the administration, the hospital, and then these big pharma. And on my show, I've been showing people like family pharmacies where if you come in and you say, I don't have insurance, that drug's like $75. But if you're on Medicare or Medicaid, it's $2,300. And so it'll be really interesting to see what happens with insurance, Medicare, Medicaid, all these programs that people are saying, hey, we need to keep these. But if they're being bankrupted by high costs, I'm very eager to see what's going to happen by lowering these drug prices.
Yeah, I agree. The pharmaceutical industry, if I remember, made $1.3 trillion last year. And they control the middle layer. That's called the pharmacy benefit manager. There's all kinds of money going back and forth. and it's not benefiting the American public. They're just paying through the nose. And if they can't pay, the taxpayers paying through the Medicare, Medicaid system. So, it has to be upended, and there'll be a dogfight because we're talking big bucks.
Okay, interesting. One of the ways to offset the high costs of big pharma and give your body what it needs, I believe, are supplements. So, as I mentioned earlier, I started having heart issues for the first time in my life. I'm in my late 30s. I've been to the doctor. They tell me, you've got the heart of an ox. It's really great. I've never had issues. Suddenly, I start having issues. So the last couple of years, I've been just rebuilding that with, some pharmaceuticals and supplements and moving more, changing my diet. But one of the sponsors of my channel is this group, Brightcore. And they have this product, Vitality. And I put it into ChatGPT, and it's basically telling me, like, yes, these are the things that your body, your heart specifically needs in order to repair itself, function at optimal rates. I would feel stupid having a cardiologist on here and not ask you some questions. Why is heart disease the #1 killer in America? Is it our diet? Is it our more sedentary lifestyle? Is it not giving the heart what it needs to fight inflation and rebuild strong cells? Why is that?
Yeah, and it is tragic. Every 34 seconds, an American dies of heart disease. Every 40 seconds, an American has a heart attack. Worldwide, every 2 seconds, somebody dies of heart disease. And I'll throw a statistic at you. It always blows me away. If you take every soldier who died in combat from 1775 to present, it's about 670,000 soldiers bravely died in combat. 950,000 people will die this year of heart disease. So in 1 year, we have so much work to do, and we have so many treatments, but we're missing the beginning, the prevention. And that's where supplements can come in, along with exercise, proper diet, quit smoking, good sleep. Supplements matter. We have so much science. Just throw one out. And I have Vitality right here because I take it myself. A one-stop shop to support your heart and arteries is a reasonable choice in today's challenging world, full of toxins, full of poor quality food. We are prone. When's the last time you heard about a dog have a heart attack? It doesn't exist. Humans are prone to clogging their arteries. And there's a reason for it, not worth going into here. But the uptick in the last 70 years is our poor quality diet and our air quality and our sleep and our stress and our lifestyle changes. We don't cook anymore, but we can't fix all that overnight, but we can make our arteries supported. And probably when you had a problem with your 2 COVID episodes, it's the lining in your artery, fancy word, the endothelium. 60,000 miles of arteries are lined, and we have to support them. So, Vitality has something called coenzyme Q10. We abbreviate it CoQ10. Go look up 50, 60,000 research studies in the last 50 years, how I can actually just see in my clinic making people better with coenzyme Q10. And the form of coenzyme Q10 in Vitality is just a highly absorbed form. That's sometimes the challenge with supplements, is getting them absorbed. So it's microcrystalline CoQ10. At any age, absolutely a great thing to add to your life. That might bring your heart rate down a little, give you a little more energy, support your blood pressure, smoothing out a little bit. It's an experiment you can see. And then vitamin K2. I don't know how many of your listeners like to eat a bean from Japan called the natto bean. Well, that's where vitamin K2 is found. Very few American palates are used to the natto bean. And vitamin K2 is in Vitality and a special form, MK7, MENA-Q7. It's the best version. It helps keep calcium and stiffening out of your arteries, helps them stay flexible. You really want to keep flexible arteries for your whole life. And there's a grapeseed extract in there called Mega Natural BP. And, hypertension, high blood pressure is a very serious damager of the heart and arteries. And a natural substance like grapeseed extract, of all things, supports healthy arteries. And then when you put them together, and call it Vitality. Take 3 simple capsules a day. It's a powerful natural package to support what life's throwing at us. They're throwing darts at our arteries all day long. Erectile dysfunction, blood pressure, heart attacks, fatigue, strange heart rates, palpitations. We need to fight back.
Okay. Let me, a lot of, just based on my YouTube analytics, a lot of the people that watch me are men, specifically with ED. Is that closing off of the arteries, so there's blood flow issue? Is it the hardening of the arteries? Why does that become so common?
Yeah, good question, and it's a great platform that I talk about. A man with erectile dysfunction likely has silent, unknown heart artery blockage. The arteries below the waist are starting to get damaged before it's obvious that the arteries above the waist are getting damaged. And that's called endothelial dysfunction, ED, which is also the abbreviation for erectile dysfunction, ED.
Oh, interesting.
That's the most common cause. Could be the cigarette, could be the cheeseburger, could be the weight, could be the blood sugar, could be everything combined. But 50% of guys at age 50 have erectile dysfunction. And yeah, that little pill can help you, but you're not correcting the underlying artery problem. Whereas the supplements that consist together in Vitality all support that healthy lining. You may have to take Vitality and give up the cheeseburger to get the best result. It's the worst food if you're on a date to have a cheeseburger and fries, because it immediately does bad things to your sexual function. So at least slip 3 Vitalities in before you go out, guys, if you're out there in the market looking around. But yeah, that erectile dysfunction is a serious issue. Partly, go get your heart checked too.
Yeah, that's interesting you said. So there may be something happening in the upper part of your body, but the damage, or maybe the canary in the coal mine, is the lower half. I wanted to ask you, I watched this I don't know if it's a docuseries or what, but it's on Netflix called The Blue Zone, and it just shows people that live on average longer than other human populations, significantly longer than Americans. And I see that there's a part of it is that they move more, a part of it is that they are very social, and a part of it is the foods that they eat and giving their body what it needs to have endothelial function, good heart, elastic cardiovascular. It is part of heart disease that Americans need to move more, and they need to feed their body the foods that specifically our body craves?
Yeah, absolutely. Unfortunately, it's not a simple formula. Quit smoking, pretty simple. Move your body, a message we got to say over and over. It could be standing, it could be dancing, it could be gardening, it can be any form of formal exercise. Park your car further away. But the diet quality has gone downhill. So there actually is a blue zone in the United States. It's Loma Linda, California. And in the 60s, it was discovered that if you lived 1 hour east of Los Angeles, Loma Linda, you lived 12 years longer than if you lived in Los Angeles. And when they studied it, diet was actually the #1 contributor. They are the home of the Seventh-day Adventists. They are 50% vegetarian, and they eat a lot of nuts and seeds and leafy greens. So they are enjoying a much more active lifestyle in a town that has a university and looks pretty normal. I mean, there are McDonald's and Arby's there, but the faith-based support has caused them to have a better outcome. Now, the other blue zones are out of the United States, and they've taught us movement, stress less, community support, quality, garden, fresh foods, not made by somebody in a factory. There's a statement: if it's grown in the ground, eat it. If it's a plant, eat it. If it's made in a plant, don't eat it. That's the quote that sort of hits the bullseye.
Yeah, that's interesting. Okay, one more question. I don't drink wine, but there's an ingredient called resveratrol that I saw is in wine. What specifically in the Vitality? What about that is healthy for the heart and the cardiovascular system?
Yeah, Vitality in the 3 capsules has 150 milligrams of resveratrol, which does come from grapes, apples, onions. It isn't necessary to drink wine, but it is found particularly in dark red wine. particularly from France, if you want to do some research on it. It's been shown to activate certain genes that slow aging, support healthy arteries, lower blood sugar. So it's been around for about 25 years, and the scientific support is very high. This multiple approach that Vitality has to keep the body healthy, the arteries healthy, the endothelium healthy, resveratrol has good scientific background.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, like I said, I plugged all this into Chat GPT, and it was like, this is really good. And then my own cardiologist was like, hey, you've got inflammation in the heart. Let's get you on the COQ10 and some of these other things. So once I found that, I was like, oh yeah, that's all in one capsule. Makes a lot of sense for me. Now, the one thing that is a mystery is President Trump. He eats McDonald's, but just seems to have the energy of an ox. But when he was asked about that, he said, I just have really good genes. And but I'm a big believer in a lot of our health can be within our own control. What we put into our mouths and the movement that we make. I did want to just give a shout out. This is not a paid video or anything, but I'm a big believer in BrightCore. My people can get 25% off by going to mybrightcore.com/vitality. Or like I tell them when I actually do an ad, if you call 888-908-4425, you can save even more money and get free shipping. So I appreciate you coming on. I know that you're very busy with practicing medicine and traveling between states. My final question for you, Dr. Kahn, is: are RFK Jr. and Trump, are they going to be able to get this movement of Make America Healthy again and get Americans back to moving and understanding the food and the medicine they're putting in their body?
Yeah, I think they've assembled a great team. I'm very hopeful. They're starting with the children, I think emotionally and actually just as a good plan. That's a great place to start. Nobody's going to argue that children don't deserve a healthier environment and healthier food. And they're going to get some wins under their belt. They have some already. They got a lot of work to do, and every big corporate force in the world is going to try and cut them down. But it's going to be so unpopular. I think they will have to come on. The ConAgras and the Pfizers and the Procter and Gambles of the world are going to have to come on. You're already seeing them make changes. So it's going to be a train that may start a little slow, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be chugging along at very high speed for at least the next 3 3/4 years. And hopefully we'll see future administrations continue it.
Yeah, hopefully beyond that. I just saw Tokyo, Japan has a new bullet train that goes 600 miles an hour. So we're starting slow, but maybe we can get up to that bullet train down the road. Dr. Kahn, thank you so much for coming on. Thank you for sharing all that information. Sometimes we only get 15 minutes with a doctor, so to be able to have 30 minutes with one, I appreciate it. Thank you again. I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thank you, sir.